If you are drawn to material like this, then you are probably very aware that there are many different realities, frequencies to tune into. And we are actually going on this planet from what's called a 3D experience to more of a 5D. Collectively. 50, 60, 70 years ago, this was not as strong as it is now because more and more people are waking up. There are more and more what's called things like wanderers, star seeds, chosen ones that are coming back to the planet, having already ascended up the consciousness scale and then deciding to come back, even though they have to go through the veil of forgetting. But because these kinds of beings are coming back, they are waking up as they go through this 3D experience. And when waking up in this 3D experience, what happens is you recognize that actually it's not only a 3D experience. 3D has to do more with the material world, has to do more with the analytical mind, kind of thinking that we're fragile, kind of just powerless creatures, so to speak, and we're at the whims of the universe, kind of being thrown around in a Newtonian billiard ball kind of way, being shoved and pushed. But when you start gaining some more awareness, when you start connecting to that which you actually are, when you start recognizing, oh, actually, I've been alive a lot longer than whenever I started coming into this human form. And again, for a lot of us, we have returned from a different place where we already had these awarenesses in order to help raise the consciousness, in order to help people wake up, in order to really, again, collectively go in that direction. And so this split from the 3D to 5D is happening, but the thing is, you have a choice. You, again, with anything that happens in this human experience, I believe it's even referred to when we think of third density, which is what we are, it's referred to the choice, because you have this dualistic experience where you're presented with choices every single moment, and it's the same when it comes to this choice of whether we want to tune into 3D, 5D, whether you want to tune into fear or love, whether you want to tune into a positive polarity or a more negative polarity. Now, it's not necessarily better or worse, right or wrong from a cosmic kind of universal perspective of which you choose, but I would assume that if you're watching this channel, you are more drawn, you have more proclivity, more of a draw, more of an attraction to kind of the 5D ways of living, the more spiritual, energetic based stuff, more of what you actually come from, acknowledging and understanding that you are a spiritual being in a human body. But again, even for those who have come back, even for those who are drawn more to this and resonate with this, it is still a choice to be made. And yes, sometimes it takes a lot of courage because we still live in a very 3D reality collectively in a sense, even though the collective consciousness is moving in a different direction, which makes this easier. Again, it is actually easier to access this kind of material, to tune into more of what you are than it was 50, 60 years ago. Or should I say it's more easy to become exposed to that being a possibility. If you were to sit in silence 50, 60 years ago, you would still be able to connect to this, but ultimately less and less people were aware of it because of the expanding awareness, the waking up, the awakening that is going on very, very quickly and rapidly. And as it starts moving, it starts getting faster and quicker and even more expansive. It is easier than ever to now tune into a different reality than the one we have been sold since we got here in this physical form. And you may have noticed that through your own life that maybe, I'm from the 90s, I'm a 90s child, 92. In the 90s or early 2000s, this wasn't really something that I saw collectively, and again, I was just a kid, but I saw collectively as something that was easy to tap into. It didn't seem there was many resources, people didn't really talk about this thing. We didn't have YouTube and this massive spreading of information that helped people to start moving through the veil of forgetting, because many of you already were aware of this in a different form, but have come back. For myself, I always felt this when I was younger, because I do believe I am a wanderer who always kind of felt out of place and that there was something more, but always kind of felt shunned for it, and I had to go with this norm or whatever else this was. But now it's easier than ever to connect to this, and this split is coming. And what I would invite you to do, especially if you're drawn to material like this, which would indicate to me, at least in my eyes, that you are more drawn to living higher into your potential energetically in the 5D, on a different frequency, on a different wavelength, and not just in the 3D experience where, again, it's more materialism, more Newtonian, even though we're very aware that Newtonian is a subset of a much bigger superset, namely the quantum model, right? We can call it energetic as well. This is the one that ultimately the Newtonian is in, the 3D, where the 5D is more of what actually created this physical world, the outer world, again, following the inner world. But again, it does come down to choices. So even if you're aware of these, but you're not taking actions to tune more into that 5D, which again is easier than ever, having stuff like this, there's so many other channels doing amazing work, light work, in order to bring in more love and light, to bring in more awareness of these ideas, of these things that you can be doing, of your power, that you can take back. 3D, you can also think of kind of giving your power away, saying that we're weak, small, little specks of dust in a massive universe, instead of actually understanding we are intricately connected into all of that, that we come from all that is, that we come from oneness, that we, in one perspective, are actually individuations of God, individuations of this oneness, just an extension, a branch of that tree of all that is. And when you start understanding this, moving from this, you start to connect to this higher experience that we're moving into. But again, there is a splitting that is happening. Those who are holding on to the old consciousness in a lot of resistance, and those who are diving into the unknown, sitting in that silence, connecting to what they are and all that they are, and what we all are ultimately. And you can make the choice to do either. Again, it's not better or worse. It's just a choice, since in third density, that which we are in right now, even though we are moving into fourth. And again, I don't want to confuse you with density, dimensions, 3D, 5D. Again, that's a rabbit hole you can go down on your own time if you want to look more into that and become more aware of it, which I would encourage if that's something you are drawn to doing. But the more you watch stuff like this and expand your awareness, the more, even more importantly, you put into action the routines and rituals that your heart moves you towards, whether this is the meditation, sitting in silence, breath work, being in really, really good energy, being in nature, things of that nature. The more you do that, the more you start to tune in to this 5D experience that, again, we all can tune into. And the more of us that are tuning into it, the more this energy starts to expand, the more it actually will help people who are a little more stuck in the 3D to be encouraged to do the same, or at least invited. The way I like to look at it is what one of my mentors once, what he said was, you're being the lighthouse, you're illuminating the landscape. And the more of us that are lighthouses, the more of us that are illuminating the landscape, the more invitations for others who are not quite in the light yet, or have not quite embraced that yet, to step in. It's not forcing, it's simply inviting. And the more of us that are doing that, the more that are kind of really as fully as we can, expanding that light out there, giving that back to the collective, which will then continue to expand. The more of us that awake and remember and give off that light and move into this new experience, the more it encourages others to also do the same, to take that first step, to at least have a little more awareness. Again, some people will go on the split and just be fervently and resistantly and just so, what's the word I'm looking for? Not obsessively, but just so, we're just like kicking thrash and hold on to that old paradigm and old story. And that's fine. That's, of course, again, the choice. But if you are interested, again, of moving more into what you are, or more in congruence with that, if you are interested in really expanding your consciousness and living from more of a place of love and light and similar levels, then I would invite you to not only embrace it, but to continually, as you go through the day, because remember, you are a co-creator, you are attracting and bringing in at every minute, every second, every moment of the day. I would invite you to put more of your energy there and do the things that keep you on that resonance. Because again, if you stay on channel 99.1 or station 99.1, you'll get what's on that frequency. But if you shift it to 105.5, and you stay on that, that's what you're going to get. So let's just say one's 3D, one's 5D. The more you stay tuned to that station, the more you retune yourself to that station, the more you will be on that side of the split, the more you will start to see your reality start to shift to reflect that. So that's all I just wanted to say today, to kind of give the information. I think a lot of you are probably feeling the energy of this expand, the awareness of this expand. We're definitely moving in that direction. And the more of us that embrace that and move into that natural part of evolution that is intricately and very intelligently calibrated and coded into how the universe and how all of this works, the more of us that embrace that and go along with that, with our natural evolution, the more it expands, the more our planet as a whole does that, the more other people will also, who maybe are on the fence or just need a little bit of courage to do it, the more they will be invited to do so. And the more examples of that there will be. Anyway, that's all I wanted to give. This was more of a riffing kind of video, just to kind of give that to you. Anyway, here is another video you can go watch where it's 5 signs that you have shifted to that 5D, where if you're noticing a lot of these things, you're probably doing a very effective job of what I mentioned in this video. So I think you might enjoy that video next.